Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us today, and thank you so much for your willingness to help on our highly pathogenic avian influenza response. My name is Anna Onitzer. I work in CDFE as our state flu coordinator. I work on seasonal and novel influenza response, and together with the zoonotic disease team and partners across state and local agencies, we've been working to respond to a strain of highly pathogenic avian influenza circulating in the US and in Washington. Our hope today is to provide an overview of HPAI training for CICT or EPI response team members. Today we're going to be talking about avian influenza background information, give a brief situational update, talk about our roles in public health response, and go over the REDCap symptom monitoring project. Avian influenza is caused by influenza A viruses, which are carried by wild waterfowl and can spread to other animals such as poultry, wild mammals, and livestock. This description is often divided into LPAI, or low pathogenic avian influenza, and HPAI, or highly pathogenic avian influenza. The difference is determined by genetic features and severity of illness in poultry, but the human health response and risk is the same across both LPAI and HPAI. There has been high activity of avian influenza in wild and commercial and backyard flocks globally and within the US in recent years. We've had an ongoing detections of HPAI in Washington state since May of 2022. Although avian influenza A viruses usually do not infect people, there have been some rare cases of human infection with these viruses. How common this is typically depends on the specific strain of avian influenza virus and the type of exposure someone had to the virus. Of the thousands of individuals under symptom monitoring during this current outbreak, there have been 2 human detections in the US. The infographic on the slide from CDC details how direct contact with an infected animal, contaminated surfaces, or inhaling bird flu virus in the air can lead to human infection with avian influenza viruses. Although the general risk is characterized as low, some groups do have job-related or recreational exposure that puts them at a higher risk of infection. So for this reason, public health tries to monitor everyone for symptoms if they've potentially been exposed to avian influenza virus. The current situation with H5N1 in the US continues to evolve, and CDC's Influenza Division has an avian influenza webpage with a current situation summary that has updates and resources around birds, dairy cattle, and people. I think it's important to take a moment to realize the devastating impact that avian influenza has on the poultry and dairy industries and animal populations. In a matter of just over 2 years, 90 million poultry have been affected. So for this reason, avian influenza is primarily an animal health emergency. This map here from CDC's current situation summary shows counties with a backyard or commercial flock detection. We can see here that H5N1 avian influenza is now located in all of the flyways across the US. A multi-state outbreak of HPAI in dairy cows was first reported on March 25, 2024. This is the first time that these bird flu viruses have been found in cattle. Since late March of 2024, further detections of HPAI in domestic livestock have been noted in several additional states. This map here from USDA shows states with confirmed cases of HPAI in domestic livestock as of early May 2024. The influenza virus, and in particular the AH5N1 strain that is circulating in the US, is primarily an animal health emergency, so response is led by our animal health partners, typically WSDA or USDA. Agencies across Washington came together in 2017 to write the multi-agency response to highly pathogenic avian influenza animal emergency plan. This plan details the responsibilities of all involved agencies, including LHJs and DOH, animal health agencies, WSDA, Fish and Wildlife, and USDA, respond to everything related to animal health, while to DOH and LHJs focus on human health. The primary responsibilities of public health are symptom monitoring of potentially exposed humans, facilitating testing and treatment of potentially exposed humans if they become symptomatic at the Washington State Public Health Lab, and distributing avian flu materials to affected parties. One major function of public health is symptom monitoring for all potentially exposed individuals for 10 days after their last known exposure. Each detection of avian influenza in birds, cattle, or other animals is a little bit different, but there are some general steps that should always occur. Sick animals should be tested for avian influenza. If positive, a presumptive positive test result is issued at the Washington Animal Diagnostics Lab, or WADL, and then a confirmatory positive is issued at the National Veterinary Services Lab, or NVSL. DOH will then be notified about a positive animal or animals and provided with contact information for animal owners or wild bird submitters. DOH will then notify the local health jurisdiction of this information, and the LHJ should perform outreach to the individual whose information was provided. Individuals potentially exposed are monitored for 10 days after their last potential exposure for symptoms of concern, as outlined by CDC, and a REDCap project can be used for automated text and email-based symptom monitoring. If someone would like phone-based symptom monitoring, the DOH CICT or EPI response team may be able to help supplement this function of phone-based symptom monitoring for a local health jurisdiction. The exact monitoring plan somebody receives depends on the type of exposure they had or group and affiliation that they belong to within the response. The bolded functions are spots that our team would greatly appreciate help from CICT or the EPI response team EPIs. Next, I want to touch on the REDCap tool that has been built for this response. A REDCap tool has been built to track all individuals under monitoring for avian influenza across both LHJs and DOH. This project really consists of two main forms. The first is an initial exposure form to capture all basic information, most recent exposure details, and their preferred method of contact, among other information. A symptom monitoring form is used to capture all symptom monitoring questions and check-ins throughout their exposure and monitoring period. Let's walk through that symptom monitoring form together and look at it in a little bit more detail. This is a screenshot of what the symptom monitoring project looks like in REDCap. I've highlighted a few key things here that will be important for use of this project for symptom monitoring purposes. The record status dashboard is a major function of this REDCap project. We've built a custom dashboard for all individuals that have noted that phone monitoring is their preference, and when an LHJ indicates that they would prefer DOH CICT, perform monitoring for the symptom monitoring period. This can be accessed by logging into the project, locating the record status dashboard on the left-hand menu, and selecting the centralized CICT symptom monitoring view in the center of the screen under dashboard displayed. There is a centralized CICT view for all English selected phone monitoring requests and a separate view for Spanish selected requests. Once you log onto this view, you can see a list of all the records that need phone symptom monitoring. The records for your use might be assigned by your CICT or EPI response team lead. You can review information by looking through the initial exposure interview form, and symptom monitoring forms can be accessed by clicking on the button under symptom monitoring. Let's dive into that symptom monitoring form in a little bit more detail. To start a new symptom monitoring form for the day, either click on the gray button or the plus sign next to the record. This is a view of what you'll see when you open the symptom monitoring questionnaire for the day. A script is shown in bold, and a summary of information on the individual can be found in that blue top bar highlighted here. This includes their LHJ, their name, and their affiliation with their response. Whether they were a responder from USDA or a WSDA employee, or not affiliated with the response. In that case, it could be a backyard flock owner, a farm owner or family, or an agricultural worker. And also the monitoring end date will be displayed in this blue bar at the top. The symptom monitoring information needed is fairly straightforward and should include a verification of their name, whether they've had any additional exposures to HPAI, and whether they've had any symptoms. This shows the later half of the symptom monitoring survey. If they do not have any of the following symptoms to report, note that the survey will conclude. If they do report symptoms, they will be prompted to provide their symptom onset date and potentially some details. Any notes or questions that are captured during the interview can be put in the notes field here and then passed up to your supervisor. The flu and zoonotic disease teams will then review these and answer appropriately. After completing the symptom monitoring interview, please move the status of the form to complete, highlighted in the bottom of the screen here, and click Save and Exit to leave the form. Thank you for watching this video today. If you have any questions, please contact your lead and we're happy to coordinate to provide any additional information necessary.